Hi guys, welcome to Memo's Tutorials. We are continuing with our quadratic equations, but today we are going to be solving these ones using the quadratic formula and also completing the square formula, okay? Which is very easy. How then do you see that this question wants me to use quadratic formula, or how then do you see that it needs me to use completing the square formula? Usually these questions, they come carrying a lot of marks, right? And also when you try to factorize them, you struggle to get the factors, right? And usually they come carrying about 5 marks. So that should tell you that, you know what, apply your quadratic formula or you're completing the square formula. And what does the quadratic formula say? It says x, you know, it can be z, it can be any number, right? X is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Okay, then we divide this by a 2a. Take note of my division line. It starts all the way just after my equal sign and it goes all the way, right? This formula, you must know it the same way you know 1 plus 1, right? And the next step, remember our quadratic equations, they come in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. The very important step is for you to be able to identify your a. So a is the coefficient of x squared, you know. It's a number before x squared. That's what I mean by coefficient. Your b, it's a number before x, and c is the constant. C, it has nothing to do with x, you know. C is a constant, it has nothing to do with a x value. So with that being said, now let's simplify this equation. X squared minus 4x plus 2 is equal to 0, and they said it's 5 marks. So that's a pointer to say we must use either quadratic formula or the completing of square formula. Okay, so that's the quadratic formula and you need to claim it and know it very well. So with that being said, now our value for x in this particular equation will say x is equal to minus for the formula and minus 4 for our b, plus or minus the square root of minus 4 squared, right, minus 4. A, it's a 1, C, it's a 2. Hopefully you guys can see, but that's a bit squashed. Let me just turn over here and start it over again. It's just an x squared minus 4x plus 2 is equal to 0. I really need you guys to see clearly. So we are going to say x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. We said our a in this case it's a 1, a number before x squared is 1. Our b in this case it's a minus 4, a number before x is a minus 4, and our c it's a 2 in this case. So now our value for x is going to be minus 4, the minus for the formula and the minus 4 for our b, plus or minus the square root of minus 4 squared minus 4 for the formula. A is 1, C is a 2, and then all divided by a 2a, which is 2 times 1. Okay, after that, filling everything, we know that a negative and a negative, when they follow each other, it's a positive. So it becomes 4 plus or minus the square root of minus 4 squared, just minus 4 times minus 4, which is a 16, minus 4 times 1, it's a minus 4, minus 4 times 2, it's a minus 8. So 16 minus 8, all divided by 2. What is a 16 minus 8? You get an 8, right? So our solution, we have 4 plus or minus the square root of 8, all divided by 2. That's for our value of x. So in this case, x is going to be 4 plus the square root of 8, all divided by 2, or 4 minus the square root of 8, all divided by 2. So when I come to this stage, I have my good friend here, which is my calculator. Please take note on how I'm punching it. So I'll simply punch my fraction button. I click my 4, my plus, my root 8. I go to the denominator, then I punch my 2 equals. My answer is 2 plus root 2, but I need it in decimal form. I'll write my value for x as a 3,414, or for the other value, I'll just use my replay button and go up there, delete the plus, and just punch in my minus, then my equal sign. My answer is 2 minus root 2. But then if I punch the fraction, but changing it to decimal to 0,5857. So rounding my answer to 2 decimal places, I'm having a 3,41 or a 0,57. Oh, it's not a 7, it's going to be a 9. Sorry about that. The 5 will change the 8 and the 8 will become a 9. Okay. Hopefully you guys were following. That's for our first example using the quadratic formula. Yes, it's worth the 5 marks. It's worthy the 5 marks. And then what about this question? The next question, they said simplify 5x squared is equal to 10 minus 3x. Don't panic. Just rearrange everything to the ordinary form that you are used to, making it 5x squared plus 3x minus a 10 is equal to 0. With that being said, identify your A, identify your B, identify your C. So A it's a 5, B it's a 3, C it's a minus 10. So now we know our x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of a b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. So our value for x is going to be minus 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times a, which is a 5, times c, which is a minus 10, all over 2 times 5. Simplifying this, we'll have minus 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared is a 9, minus 4 times 5, that's a minus 20, minus 20 times 10, that will give us a 200, right? A positive 200. All over 2 times 5, which is a 10. So this then gives us our value for x as a minus 3 plus or minus the square root of 209. All divided by a 10. You separate it, x it's minus 3 plus root 209 over 10, or minus 3 minus root 209 over 10. I have a best friend, which is my calculator. I punch in my fraction button. After that, I click my negative 3 plus the square root of 209 all over 10. I'm making use of my replay button, and I'm getting a 1,1456. You know, it's a very long decimal, but I'll just write that one. And now for a minus sign, I'm simply going back to my I didn't delete, take note of that. I'm going back to my first expression. I'm just deleting the plus and plugging in my minus there, my equal sign. I need my answer as a fraction, as a decimal. I'm getting minus 1,7456. Rounding off my answer to 2 decimal places, I'm getting a 1,15 or minus 1,75. These are our x values. Okay, so that's all on the quadratic formula. That's all using the quadratic formula. This then takes us to our next friend, which is completing the square formula. Okay, sometimes they can be that specific to say you must use the completing the square formula. How do you complete the square? How do we complete the square? For example, our first question, we are having x squared minus 4x minus 21 being equal to 0. Then they say simplify this equation using the completing of square method. So the completing of square method, given a equation in the form of ax squared plus bx plus a c is equal to 0. What you do, you must first factorize your a, right? Factor your a out or divide by a throughout. Why are you dividing by a throughout? Why are you dividing by a both sides? You must have the coefficient of x squared must always be 1. Must always be 1. Okay, that's a very important note there. The coefficient of x squared must always be 1. That's the number before. Okay, number before x squared must always be a 1, right? So once your coefficient of x squared is a 1, now you can apply the formula which says x plus b over 2 all squared minus a b over 2 squared, like that, right? Of course, you maintain your c. So this is a very important formula. Also, it requires you to be able to identify your b and your c as well. So take note of the negative. It's outside the bracket, so it's not going to be affected by that power 2. Okay, so with that being said, how then are we going to simplify x squared minus 4x minus 21 is equal to 0? How are we going to simplify that one? Okay, this didn't clean off nicely. Okay, we started from this side. Alright, so it's x squared minus 4x minus 21 is equal to 0. We are applying x plus b over 2 all squared minus b over 2 plus our c, right? Which is, this is the what? The completing of square formula. So we are going to say we have an x minus 4 over 2 all squared minus 4 over 2 all squared plus, in this case it's just a negative 21. Remember, a plus and a minus when they follow each other is just a minus, right? So 4 over 2, it's a 2. So we have x minus 2 squared minus, we got a 2 there, minus 2 to the power 2, it's a 4. So it's a minus 4 minus a 21 is equal to 0. So now we are having x minus 2 all squared minus 4 minus 21 is a negative 25 being equal to 0. So x minus 2 all squared is equal to 25. I just took 25 to the other side. So to get rid of the power sign, we can just introduce the square root sign to get rid of power 2, right? Remember, the square root sign simply means to the power half. So now we have x minus 2 is equal to the square root of 25, which is plus or minus 5. So our value for x, we simply say it's a minus, we take the minus 2 to the other side, it becomes a positive 2, so it's a 2 plus or minus 5. So x is equal to 2 plus 5 or 2 minus 5. What is 2 plus 5? It's a 7. 2 minus 5, it's a negative 3, right? So our value for x is a 7 or a negative 3, okay?